They want to eliminate what they call the deep state. The deep state is a cadre of professionals dedicated to honoring the Constitution, the laws of this country, and carrying out the policies of the Congress and the President. The deep state dedicated to carrying out the policies of the President. The deep state dedicated to carrying out the policies of the President.
Consider this your trigger warning. The following program is strictly satire and is not meant to be taken seriously. So don't get all butthurt, you liberal snowflakes, just because we skewer your sacred cows and expose all your lies and hypocrisy. Truth hurts, and so does satire. So grab a drink, pull up a chair, and enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. You guessed it, I'm still in the great state of Georgia, as evidenced by the Georgia Peach Room. I know I haven't made it all the way back home, haven't done it, and I've got a hell of a drive ahead of me after the show tonight. But this show is critical. So tell everyone, hey, that internet address right up there, you got to check this video out. Folks, we're going to be talking about some stuff that is absolutely mind-bending, if not mind-blowing. And you can participate on Sunday Night Live right here. You hit that super chat button up there. Or you can, let's see, make a donation at Venmo. You can make a donation at PayPal. You can make a donation at CashApp. And we've already got some great donations to start off the show. Now, what does a donation do? It allows you to make a comment, ask a question, make an observation, point to the history of the world. In the past, point to the future of the world. Well, in the future. And the future is not looking so bright and cheery. Not right now. Not right now. It is not looking good at all. So we're going to ask some really hard questions. And one of the hardest questions to ask is, are you prepared? Because when you ask it, you're supposed to ask yourself. I ask you guys, right, so that you can ask yourself, am I fully prepared? Right? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. Am I fully prepared for what is coming? Folks, we have international problems. We have national problems. We have local problems. We have food problems, electricity problems, money problems, law enforcement problems. Oh, did I mention bank problems? Ooh la la, ooh da lolly. We've got some freaking trouble, folks. And we're going to talk about all of it right here on the Prepared Mind channel. So get your questions in, get your thoughts in order, get your drink in order. Now, because I have to leave as soon as I'm done, I will not be drinking any alcohol. Sorry about that, but I will, folks, still accept donations and share, a Georgia peach tea with you. This is truly, folks, an awful weekend. It's also a great weekend. Great meaning good. A lot of information has come out. Great meaning things are happening. Things will be revealed to us. And I don't mean it's going to be great as in yeehaw, we're all going to party and have a good time. It ain't that kind of movie. No, it isn't. But I've got topics up and down the line. I'm hoping you guys out there want to talk about it, that you do the super chat thing or the super chat thing and tell me what's on your mind. What concerns you about what is happening? Not just, this isn't a freaking news channel. It's not a news channel where I read a headline and go, and there's the news. That's what a news guy does. No, we take it and we dissect it. We look inside of what's happening. We look around the side of the building. We peek behind the curtain. And then we discuss. We predict. That's right. That's why, well, I'm the prophet of prepping. Not some kind of mystical religious sage, but rather a secular prophet. I've been studying, folks. Been studying this for decades. And I've shared the last decade of that time with you. But for decades, folks, ever since, we're going to just say Waco, Texas. That was the ultimate wake up for me. That was a long time ago. In fact, I stopped at a friend's house as I've traveled my way back towards home, and I discovered something. Netflix actually has that's right, they have Netflix, a Waco documentary. It's funny, the only people left to talk about Waco are the ones who weren't killed there. So everyone kept saying, well, this is a dangerous group. It was anti-Branch Davidian. Not that I'm a pro-Branch Davidian, but I'm a pro-freedom person. They are painting them very bad, folks. Remember, those who survive the battles get to tell the stories. Those that win the wars get to write history. We can't win this, folks, by not fighting. So fight. And by fight, I don't mean act violently. I mean fight. Join the crowd. Prep to action. When you prep to action, you join the fight. You join the fight. That fight is by getting your congressmen, your senators involved, and tell them what you think. Right now, some very important things are happening. And we'll discuss both the positive and the negative consequences of it. Booman is going to play the devil's advocate because that's his role. I'm going to play the what the hell, this is going on. Let's question it because that's my role. Big things are happening, folks. But let's start off with this. We've got Darcy T kicking off the show with her $50 super chat donation. And she comes right out and she hits one of the big ones, folks. She says, good evening, John. And I'll say good evening to you, Darcy. She says, let's talk bank runs. Silicon Valley Bank, the first domino to fall. This is incredible, folks. This Silicon Valley Bank, SVB is short. It is huge in the game. It is huge in SHTF. Now, if you've been here for any amount of time, you know that way back in September of 2019, that's right, September of 2019, 3.5 years ago, the banking system failed. The Federal Reserve stepped up, the Treasury stepped up, and they started buying their own bonds. They started funding overnight banking payments. They were dumping interest rates down, trying to make it cheaper, trying to float money to these banks. And they did that for a long time, about 3 years. And about 6 months ago, the Federal Reserve started raising interest rates, raising them up and up and up and up and up. What does that mean, folks? It makes it more expensive for you to borrow money, but it also makes more expensive for banks to borrow money. So here we go, Silicon Valley Bank, the 16th largest bank in the country. Now, that doesn't, who are they? They're not even top 10, right? Why do they matter? Well, they all matter because, well, they buy each other's junk. They buy each other's notes. They buy each other's debt. They buy each other's assets. One bank will bundle up a bunch of loans and sell them to another bank and call it an investment. Get this, folks, Silicon Valley Bank. You say, is this the first domino to fall? Well, in September of 2019, the overnight lending, the repo market, when banks would lend money to other banks, it died. Banks didn't have the money to do it anymore. They didn't like the assets the other banks had. So they quit helping each other out. That's when the Federal Reserve stepped in and started loaning money out overnight. And then a few months later, that's right, the spring of 2020, we had Cerveza Bug. They had some huge problems, folks, and they need to have an excuse for the economy to start taking a shit while they kick the can down the road and figure things out. And then at the end of 2020, they started talking, well, that's right, the Jim Jones juice. And they kept us very busy with that, while all the while they were talking about central bank digital currency. That's right, the CBDCs. They needed a government coin, a crypto coin, not necessarily crypto, but an electronic coin, a token, if you will. It's not money. It's not even currency, right? But the CBDC, the Fed coin, if you will, it's been threatened. They've been trying to introduce it, and they're getting very close. And then we have this Silicon Valley Bank. Who is Silicon Valley Bank? Well, they're based out of Silicon Valley, California, up in Northern California, South San Francisco Bay. It's really where I grew up the first 10 years of my life. Where I grew up and went to school, folks. Oh, there's eBay, Apple. Name your high-tech firm. It's incredible. They're all right there. I'm like, I used to walk down this street as a kid, and all this shit is here now. Anyways, Silicon Valley Bank, what were they there doing? Silicon Valley Bank, folks, lends money to high-tech firms to develop their hardware and software. Now, what's fascinating is I just read today, and a lot of this news is coming out now. Who is Silicon Valley Bank? Let's talk about them. This is, by the way, Darcy, the first domino to fall, and it's a big one. Silicon Valley is lending money to companies. Now, they haven't had a risk officer on board for close to a year. That means since they haven't had that, their agents have been taking whatever fuck risks they want, making risky gambles, taking risky loans, and just handing out money based on, that's right, you guessed it, if you were thinking ESG, social governance, inclusion, diversity. And the people that work in that office are diversity hires themselves. So you have the dumbest amongst us who've been given a position because they look a certain way or claim that their genitals don't match what they have in their own head. And they've just been loaning money out to their buddies, people that they like, because, well, that company is diverse and that company is, well, socially connected. Now, I don't know why they put environment next to social. They're just cramming as much crap into ESG as they can. Environmental, social governance. How about environmental governance on one hand and social governance on the other? Why does social matter? Well, because we want the LGBT crowd. We want them to be in charge of everything and have a say because, well, they're just not getting enough fucking attention, I guess. I'm getting a little pissed off now. Sorry about this, because Silicon Valley Bank, folks, didn't just do this, right? Didn't just loan money. People put their money in this bank. And this is how this works. When you go to a bank and you make a deposit, you are not, you're not putting money in your account. They may call it an account, but you are making a loan to the bank. It is an unsecured loan, meaning it's not a collateralized loan. You're just handing them money, and then they turn around and invest it where they want. So everyone's holdings, their money that they take to the bank and hand to the banker. That banker then says, okay, we've collected $1 million this month. We've collected $100 million this month. We've collected $1 billion this month in cash. Let's go invest that and turn that billion into 2 billion. Turn that billion into 3 billion with all of our brilliance. So they take that money, folks, and they invest it in companies. Here's $1 billion, company X, company Y, company Z, you bunch of ESG compliant losers. And those companies take that $1 billion. And instead of turning it into $2 or $3 billion, they turn it into $500 million. That's right. They're losers, folks, because they're more concerned about, well, being socially, cured of prejudice and socially cured of racism. Yeah, but they don't make money. They lose money. They pretend to be ecologically friendly, environmentally friendly, planet friendly. Well, they should be concerned about making money, but they're not. So they're losing money. So, folks, Silicon Valley Bank, at the end of the month, guess what? They too, right, they have loans out there. They have money out there. They have to make payments on this. They have to make payments. They don't have the money to make the payments on their debt. So guess what? right? They have to borrow money. They borrow money. They borrow. Banks borrowing money, folks, not a good scene. Banks using other people's money, not a good scene. So they collapse. They're done, right? They're like, hey, we don't have money. We can't pay our debt. Bank collapse, bank failure. So bank runs. Yeah, people, when they heard that Silicon Valley was in trouble, probably when they heard Jim Cramer talking about how great it was, they lost their shit. They ran to the bank and tried withdrawing their money. And that went on for a short while. And then the bank said, hey, we can't let any more funds go. We're not, and they weren't, I mean, some people may have showed up for cash. A lot of people showed up. They wanted a cashier's check. They want an electronic transfer to another bank. They just want to move their money out of that bank. Well, guess what, folks? That came to a standstill real fast because the bank doesn't have money. The bank has assets, right? They have these companies that are doing like shit. And can you imagine going to your father and your dad says to you, son or daughter, I gave you $1 million. I want to know what you've done with it. And you're like, well, I bought these companies. Oh, great. You did good. You bought Hershey's chocolate. I love Hershey's. That's a good company. Right? And then he goes to for the next $1 million and he goes, where's my money? Oh, well, we invested that money in a clothing company that makes panties for boys so they can do a tight weenie tuck and breast squishing bras for girls because, that matters. And that $1 million is now worth, well, 100,000 because no one gives a shit. Okay. Yeah. So people want their money. They're making bank runs. Now, here's the concern is all these banks are tied together. They take their assets, they take their loans, they bundle them together and they sell them to someone else. They're selling each other their own garbage. And they don't pay their bills. So that affects another bank. See, whoever Silicon Valley Bank owed money to, right? They owe money. They can't pay them back. So that other bank is now short on cash. Instead of, if here's even, and that bank was like, yeah, we're doing great, man. All the other banks are paying us back. And then the economy gets worse and worse and worse and worse as interest rates have gone up. They have less money. And then they have Silicon Valley Bank run out of money. And whoa, bam. Now this bank is like, we're not getting our money because Silicon Valley Bank just took a shit. So yes, Darcy, come Monday, tomorrow morning, there are going to be people waking up and wanting to go to their bank and get their money out, either in cash, a cashier's check, or transfer it electronically to another bank. Or they're going to buy gold and silver. And that's, don't kid yourself, folks. That is happening too. But yeah, bank runs, people panicking. Gold went up almost $40 on Friday. 2%. 2% gold went up. Pretty impressive. Silver, same story. Because all of a sudden, I don't think we trust fiat dollars. You say, is this the first domino to fall? That's your question, Darcy? It's the first big domino to fall. It's the first big consequence of a very dangerous and stupid game that the Federal Reserve has been playing for quite some time. They've been playing with other people's money, your money, my money, the government's money. Who else has their money in banks, in investment funds, folks? Who else? That's right. State and local governments. That's right. Like, we'll just use CalPERS, for example, the California Public Employee Retirement System. CalPERS, I think, is the single largest government investor in Wall Street. Look out. They've lost a shit pile of money. And we've talked about this in the past, folks. I've talked about banks and bank runs. I've talked about CalPERS and other state funds. Illinois is also in huge trouble. New York, all the states, because they're not putting their money in the local bank to make 6 or 4 or 3% and let the local bank invest in local business. Instead, the local bank, or at least the branches, like the branch banks of Silicon Valley, they take their money and they invest it in, you guessed it, ESG companies on Wall Street. So instead of your local bank taking care of local business, it's sending its money to big giant corporations that suck. A great big sucking sound is people have lost their asses. If you have money in Silicon Valley Bank, folks, it's gone, right? Cue the joke from South Park, right? Right, and it's gone. Your money's gone. Next. That's what's going on. It truly is. Now, what else has come up today? Well, Elon Musk might buy Silicon Valley Bank. Do you think that's going to save their bad investments? No, it won't. Now, let's just say, why would you? Let's say you were a multi-billionaire and Silicon Valley Bank had $10 billion in, well, assets. That's the value of the bank. Let's just say that's what it is. Would you spend $15 billion to buy $10 billion? Would you spend $20 billion to buy $10 billion in investments? Or would you put your bid in, which is what's going on right now today? They're putting their bids in. Who wants to buy Silicon Valley Bank's assets? Well, if they've got 10 billion in assets, a bank or a rich person might offer $1 billion. That's pennies on the dollar, folks. That's a dime on the dollar. They want to buy $10 billion in assets for $1 billion. See, that's how these people work. They're not in it to lose money. They're in it to make money. So if they've got $1 billion and it's worth 10, guess what? They buy Silicon Valley Bank, and then they can, well, declare bankruptcy, discharge all the debt. What is all the debt? Well, the money they own or owe other companies, the money they owe other banks, the money they owe depositors. That's right. If you've got money that you put in that bank, either as an investor or as a savings account or whatever, remember, that's an unsecured loan. It is an uncollateralized loan. And that is not your money. It is the bank's money. And when a bank or corporation goes bankrupt, they do not pay back the people they owe money. They declare bankruptcy. So let's just use Jeff Bezos. He offers $1 billion and buys Silicon Valley Bank. He declares bankruptcy. You don't get your money back. Other banks don't get their money back. He gets those assets and he can sell them. That's right. He'll sell the fuck out of them too and try and get as much as he can for his $1 billion investment. He may walk away with 5 or 6 or 7, but it's going to cause the price to take a shit on those remaining companies that he owns. In other words, there's a bloodbath that's coming. They could hit tomorrow. Now, folks, the Federal Reserve could step in. They could buy up all that debt. You know, it's called a bailout. But Janet Yellen, that's right, old Yellen, Secretary of the Treasury, former chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank. She's now Secretary of the Treasury, says there will be no bailout of Silicon Valley Bank. There's no bailout. The first domino to fall, the first bank to fall that doesn't get a bailout. The first bank to fall where all the investors, the bank customers, if you will, lose. The first bank to be sold for pennies on the dollar. Yeah, bank runs, I think they could be coming. I don't trust these fucking banks with my money. Oh, no. Oh, no. Anyways, thank you for the great super chat donation. Thank you, Darcy, very, very much. And folks, Chin Music also asked about bank runs in Silicon Valley Bank. So if you would, Chin Music, get us another question on in there. And we've topped 400 people live. We've just begun. We've talked about one freaking topic. We're going to be here for 2 hours. We've got more. And Chin Music did do a 2223 super chat donation. Super chat donation. Thank you, Chin Music. Now, where do we go from here? Where do we go? Jolene, you can throw numbers at me and I'll go with that, but I've got a bunch of things to talk about. We're going to start. Oh, Chin Music jumps right in on it. No need to wait, Mr. John. He says this. Now I'm going to need to put on my glasses to see what I'm looking at. He says, also, three Silicon Valley Bank officers said a significant amount of their stock sold a significant amount of their stock days ago while their buddy Jim Cramer was pumping them up on CNBC, giving them cover for a kickback. Oh, that is awful. That's right. Just days ago, Jim Cramer of CNBC and his Mad Money show. Guess what he did? He came out and said, oh, yeah, Silicon Valley Bank, great company, invest in it. Invest in it, great company. Oh, yeah, great company, because I'm Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer is the same guy who stood up and said, Bear Stearns, back in 2008. Bear Stearns, great investment. Don't take your money out of Bear Stearns. Leave your money in Bear Stearns. Invest in Bear Stearns. And the next day, Bear Stearns went under. Collapso. That's right. Additional news that has been reported with Silicon Valley Bank is that the day before, they announced insolvency, not having enough money. The day before that, they gave some of their employees bonuses. Isn't that amazing? That word bonus, it's really come up in the last 10 years. Corporations rewarding themselves for doing such a great job while the company goes right down the shitter. Right down the shitter. Unbelievable. Thank you, Chin Music, for that. And there's going to be more, folks. There's going to be a lot more coming. More bank runs. More banks are going to be crippled. They're going to be screaming, folks. They're going to be screaming. Thank you, Jolene. They're going to be screaming and screaming and then screaming some more about what's happening out there. Before we get to all your comments and questions, I think this is a very important topic we're going to get into real quick. Former Vice President Mike Pence had a meltdown, said President Trump, quote, endangered my family, end quote, and, quote, history will hold Donald Trump accountable, end quote, over January 6th. This is interesting to me. This was interesting to me. Do you doubt who Pence works for anymore? The Pence family apparently was threatened, so Pence turned. I can see this very clearly. Because Trump was Trump, Michael Pence had his family threatened. Endangered his family, he says. You bet his family was endangered. So he turned. That's right. Mike Pence turned on Trump and turned on America to protect his family. Now, if you remember back to the American Revolution, the people that fought to win freedom, folks, they risked their lives, their families, and their fortunes. You can't play this high-level game and say, well, I don't want anything at risk. Everything is at risk. Pence said Trump is going to be held accountable. History will hold Donald Trump accountable. But for what exactly? I think Pence is telling the truth here. It's just how or who wins the game. If Trump wins, he'll be held accountable in a good way. If Trump wins or loses this battle, if America loses this battle, Trump will be held accountable in a bad way. We are going to see how history unfolds, folks. We're going to see it. We're going to see it. And Mike Pence, we know who he works for. He sold out. And he told the world all about it today because Trump endangered his family. He had his little meltdown. Okay, let's do this. Let's now get to your super chat donations. You guys want to talk? You want to ask questions? I've got your answers right here. Jolene, who do we want to toss up there first? We've got Mr. Skylight with a $19.99 super chat donation. He says, is the next Black Swan a bank run on Monday? I think, Mr. Skylight, we're going to get a bank run starting on Monday. I think it's going to continue into Tuesday. And if they cannot stop it, if it runs unabated, if it gets worse, if another bank declares it's insolvent or bankrupt, you can expect this to be a contagion. Now, if any of you recall, and I know you all recall, several weeks ago, the big bankers with all of their big suits, with their big asses and their big leather chairs, had a meeting, and they let go. It was about FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, that they do not have enough money in that insurance corporation to cover all the losses. In fact, I read a little factoid about, guess what? Silicon Valley Bank. And that 89%, someone go fact check this, 89% of the deposits there were not insured. So sure, they put up that little placard, FDIC insured. Well, who is getting FDIC insurance? The guy who puts in $100,000? The guy who puts in $200,000? I wonder, right? Is your money insured? Well, you think it's insured, but does the bank really have an insurance policy? Well, the people at this meeting, this big bankers meeting, folks, the big Treasury Federal Reserve, they said, boy, we know the truth. They're screwed out there. If we have bank runs, if we have bank failures, the people, there's not enough money. There's not enough insurance money to cover everything. And they're not going to bail us out. Look out. It is coming. Thank you, Mr. Skylight. We've got a lot more coming. And they said it's systemic, meaning every bank is tied to every other bank. Every loan affects every other bank. Every bundled investment affects every other bank if something goes bad. They're all interconnected. And folks, get this, above and beyond America, I bet they're all interconnected around the world. If our system fails, Japan fails, Europe fails, et cetera, this can get ugly very quick. And I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm not the one who fucked up the investments. I'm not the one who lied to the American people. I'm not the one who told you you're making a deposit in the bank and secretly took that money as an unsecured loan. I'm not the one screwing anyone over. I'm here talking about facts. 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 And it's been gone over, folks, ad nauseum by the likes of, I don't know, Andy Scheckman or Alistair McLeod or Egon von Greyers or Sven Heinrich. Lots of people have been talking about this for years now, the fact that the money's not insured, that these banks are all tied together and can fail, that FDIC doesn't cover it, and that your money in a bank is no longer your money, right? So that's why we say, hey, if you're going to have money, food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and your plan. And understand, folks, the best way to keep your wealth is to, well, keep your wealth. And that's why so many people have switched to gold and silver. And we do have a link at thepreparedmind.club for getting you over to SD Bullion. And I also recommend Miles Franklin, even though I'm not an associate or anything like that. It takes longer to get your money from them, weeks and weeks, whereas SD Bullion is a couple of days. But I know Scheckman is a good businessman. I just want people, if they've got money and they've got all their other preps handled, I'm just saying, think about it. If you've got a bag of silver on the floor, you know, a bunch of constitutional money, that is pre-1964 dimes. If you've got a bunch of American eagles, if you got a bunch of, well, Indians, you know, or silver buffaloes, you're better off with that than to have a bank account where the bank just closed. All right, there it is, the SD Bullion link. I don't know. I feel I don't have as much silver as I would like, folks. I certainly don't have as much gold as I would like, but I would like to thank people in the past. People actually sent me silver. Can you believe that? It's awesome. But here's the deal. Once you hold it, you own it. When the bank fails, they don't come to your door and knock on it, say, knock, 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 you know, give us your silver, give us your food, give us your bullets. We're the bank. No, they don't get to own it. But if you hand them your money, they're going to keep it and say, thanks for the money. We'll give it back to you if we can stay in business. All right. Let us move on if we shall. Let's step up. Who is up next? Jolene, and it's Chin Music again with a $4.99 super chat. And he says, hey, Prepared Mind family. Gave her a ring and she said yes. Best thing about a conservative woman is you never know, or you never have to ask yourself, is that a girl? That's awesome, man. Congratulations. Yeah. I remember asking some young men a couple of years ago, how the hell do you date these days? And the guy was like, man, very, very careful. You don't know who you're asking out. I mean, you really need to know who they are. Just unbelievable. You're going to get a girl that thinks she's a freaking dog. Get a guy for you girls out there. You're going to get a guy that thinks he's a girl. You're going to get a guy that you come home one day and he's wearing your freaking clothes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. Conservative women, you bet they're real women. How about that? And boy, the abortion story is coming back, folks. These leftists, they are a bunch of sick bastards. Sick bastards. They want nothing but death and destruction. Death and destruction. Okay, Jolene, who do we have up next? Who is going to step up? Who? And good golly, it is Diorce. And he's got a $1.49 super sticker. Thank you, Diorce, for that very much. All right, no question there. Let's step on the gas and keep on moving. Oh, there's a Diorce super chat donation. And it is a $10 super chat. He says, beware of the fake channels out there that give the rest of the survivalist preparedness community a bad name. They are real predators that hide in sheep's clothing. Keep up the good work, John and Uman. And also Jolene, and also everybody who is behind the scenes. Thank you, Diorce. Yeah, there's a lot of predatory people out there that want to take advantage of you. I just want to provide perspective, provide information, provide a topic for you to think about. And then I say, hey, look, here's my opinion. And you can read in the comments down below other people's opinions on these topics. But I don't own you, and I don't want you to become part of some cult, right, that runs around and screams talking points. You know, I try to genuinely look at what's out there and talk about it with you. I think I've done a good job of that for the last, I don't know, 9.5 years now. Tell you what, yeah, the 16th largest bank, 16th largest bank, Silicon Valley Bank. Guess what? Oh, there's videos out already. Already. Are you prepared for this? Get ready for this, right? Silicon Valley Bank is also an e-commerce bank. It's tied into e-commerce companies like Etsy, ETSY. Now, Etsy has warned its sellers that there's going to be a delay in payment. Well, it comes and it's tied directly to Silicon Valley Bank and its collapse. Imagine doing business through, well, what you think is something safe, Etsy, something safe like PayPal, something safe. All of a sudden, your money no longer exists because, well, the main bank, the holding bank that holds all those funds is gone. Thank you, Silicon Valley Bank. Thank you, environmental social governance. Thank you, diversity hire fruitcakes. We really needed your LGB perspective on how businesses work. Fucking morons. They're ruining people. People's lives are now being ruined again. Again. This is the huge wealth transfer is going on right now. Wealth transfer going on right now. Unbelievable. How many more businesses are going to be affected? How many more lives are going to be ruined before people say enough of this shit? Well, I said enough of it. You said enough of it. But people on Wall Street, people in Chicago, people in LA and San Francisco at these investment firms, they're all for this garbage. People in Europe, France, London, Stuttgart, they love this shit. So they're going to keep investing in it. People's payments are going to be delayed. Good job. It's only the 16th largest bank. Yeah, I wouldn't mind to have the 20th largest bank, as mine. Not going to happen, folks. These people are out, well, for stupid. They're just out for stupid. What do we got here? What do we have here? Okay. Cleaning up this mess. Cleaning up the mess. It is much more difficult doing broadcasts on the road, and I want to thank you guys. We're at 477 people live. We hit 480, dropped back to 477. We want to go over 500. Over 500 people live. So hit that address up there. Hit it. Get it out to friends. Email, text. fucking carrier pigeon, get it out there so people can wake up. Folks, we talked about some big things. I got some more big things right there on my list. I've got the handy dandy tablet covered in news stories to go over with you, but it's your show. So let's get into it. Who wants to talk? Who do we have? And it is Crazy Uncle with a $5 super chat donation. And he says, I figured this bank issue was going to happen as soon as I no longer had the option to get a paper check. Think about it. Right. Cashless. They want this cashless stuff. Remember when Cerveza bug hit and they're like, money's dirty. Money is awful because, well, money has germs on it. Coins and paper, it's dirty. We need to get rid of money. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, we know money is dirty. Literally, it has been. People sneeze on it. They snort coke on it. Whatever. Yeah, but they want to go to a cashless system, like central bank digital currency. But they need to destroy the call for currency. So they've done this direct deposit. Shit, they did it when I was a Marine. I did not like that. I did not like it at all. I wanted a paper check cut to me. Folks, that was back in the late 1980s. Here we are over 30 years later. Yeah, I'm surprised anyone gets a paper check anymore these days. And keeping a fair amount of cash in small $1 bills is a good idea, just in case, well, we have a cyber attack. What happens if we now get a cyber attack on top of this bank run, on top of all the other problems? What happens? You won't be able to get your money. They could just declare currency done altogether. They could have a bank holiday like they had in the early 1930s and close the banks for a fucking week and say, don't worry, folks, we're going to have everything figured out. We're going to open it all back up, but we've got to fix some problems. You see, this bad bank over here caused all kinds of problems. So we're going to shut everything down. And when we open it up, well, we'll make sure everyone pays their fair share. How is that for a what if possibility? Everyone pays their fair share. Really. Everyone pays their fair share. So you get your bank account back and it's got half the value in it. Right? Folks, the dominoes of doom, they are out there. The potential of more banks crumbling, people doing bank runs, government saying F you, shutting down the banks altogether. Unbelievable. Okay, I know we got a lot of super chat donations. Jolene, who do we want to put up next? And it is Diorce with a $50. That's right, folks, a $50 super chat donation. And he says, I've noticed that Wells Fargo Bank has always had a history of problems. Let me tell you about that. Leave it up there, Jolene. Let me tell you about a problem a friend of mine had. They paid off their car and Wells Fargo repoed it. How does that work? Oh, yeah. Let us continue, folks. Wells Fargo has had problems for a long time. Dior says, some of the earliest problems have been ATMs not working, people not being able to access their money. And I believe that they are one of the banks to redefine what a deposit was. Yes. They were one of the first banks to adopt this new system of you don't really have any money. Now, Wells Fargo, since Silicon Valley Bank failed last week, we can go ahead and take Diorce down, and thank you for that awesome donation, man. Yeah, Wells Fargo, folks, as soon as Silicon Valley Bank took a shit, guess what? People went to access their money there. They went to look, and they discovered that, well, Wells Fargo was saying they had zero, a big goose egg. Zip, zilch, nada, niente, de nada. Nothing. Nothing at all. Was that a glitch or was that a beta test? It's a question I have, folks. Was that a glitch? 500 people live. Folks, we have more people live now than fucking President Obama Biden gets live. We're that live because people want to know what the hell is going on out there. What the fuck is going on? Wells Fargo, all of a sudden, you can't see your money in the account. If you can't see it, if it's saying it's not there, then they won't give it to you. You're going to trust that bank, Wells Fargo, with your money? You're going to trust Silicon Valley Bank with your money that they're going to go invest in a company that they only like because it has people with purple hair who are butt pirates working on their boards. There's no consideration for an actual business model, a business plan. There's no consideration for a company that's actually making money versus one that's promising to make money some year, sometime. Oh yeah, folks. Companies that have no assets, but they've got an idea and they think that's worth billions of dollars. It's unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable. And here we are. Here we are. Thank you, Dior's. Very true. Great, great statement, question, comment. Let's move on to the next. We've got a lot of stuff to cover. A lot of people have things in mind, and it is chin music. And Dior's, if you've got another witticism out there, you just let me know. We'll get it up there with Jolene. Now we got Chin Music, who says, I went to Chip Ray's office and let them have it over the border. I have a migrant drop-off facility 2 miles away. Please call your local rhino. Ray is operating almost alone. Folks, yeah, our country is in big, big trouble. Banks are failing, yet at the southern border, everyone's allowed in for free. In fact, there was an amazing news story today. The American Red Cross is helping. They're on the scene at the border, but they're not helping you. You silly American, you. The Red Cross is handing out pamphlets, trifolds, with instructions that they're giving to the illegal immigrants where they should go to cross to have the least resistance and how to get across the border and what things do you need to say so you can get the most free handouts. Thank you, Red Cross, for looking out for people who need help at the expense of all those in America who pay the frickin' bill. Unbelievable. Folks, if you don't believe me, I don't blame you. Every time I talk on here, it is incredible, the crazy shit that's going on. But if you go on the internet and look it up on mainstream news, you'll find these stories. They just don't talk about it on their news channel. They're afraid to talk about it. They don't want to tell you about it. Folks, they know everything that I know. They know everything that you know, but they won't share it with the public. They won't. They won't. It's absolutely crazy. And get this about Mexico. This really pissed me off when I heard this. Their president down there, who is a socialist, and a socialist is just a communist. Right? President López Obrador. He has threatened now to interfere in American elections. What? He has announced a plan to ensure that, quote, not one vote goes to Republicans. How the hell is that going to happen? As much as I love the Mexican people who obey the law and come to America and bust their asses working, as much as I love them, fuck Mexico, right? I think that the United States and governments should pull all corporate business out of Mexico, close the border, period, and shut it down. And say, if that's how you want to play, you pile of shit, you're not going to get our money. You're not going to get our business. Has shit hit the fan? You bet it has, folks. You bet it has. It's hit big time, and it's hit shit all over the wall. And it's not going to get any better, not with this attitude. It's not going to get any better. Now, what do you want to talk about? Here on the Prepared Mind channel, it is Sunday Night Live. This is the zoo. And it's your chance, folks. Step up. What do you want to talk about? Jolene, who is next? And it's Crazy Uncle with a $5 super chat donation. And he has this to say. He says, prepper tip. Chicks are coming out. Just make sure you are a choosy and get the right breed for your purposes. Meat, eggs, what color eggs, what size, etc. Yes, Crazy Uncle wasn't talking about women. He was talking about chickens. It is chicken season. And we found out that, eggs can get real expensive real fast. Thankfully, the price of eggs has come back down. I would recommend to you that you get powdered eggs for your prepared larder, your prepared pantry, your prepared storage. When I was at the RMZ, folks, I had powdered eggs. They don't taste as good as fresh eggs, obviously. They don't whip up into a big fluffy omelet or souffle, if you will, but it works. You can make a quiche. You can make scrambled eggs. You can put bacon in there, right? And it works. But having egg and egg protein, real eggs. And on top of that, yeah, I recommend getting chickens if you can do it. Chickens if you can have them. Gotta love chickens. Chickens also eat bugs so that you don't have to, and the bugs can't ruin your food. Yeah, chickens eat bugs, and they turn bugs into food for us to eat. Humans eating bugs, no. Chickens eating bugs, yes. But understand, chickens will eat everything too. You'll eat your vegetable garden. They'll eat your grass. They'll eat your flowers. They eat everything. So make sure you have enough food for them and enough land for them to live on. There's lots of people out there. In fact, I would recommend at this point thepreparedmind.com, which has everything prepping, political discussion like this channel, as well as other channels for canning, farming, woodscrafts, building, self-defense, you name it. It's all there at thepreparedmind.com. And Uman is in charge. That is his channel. And I tell you what, look out. Okay. We're going to get big, folks. We're going to get crazy when I get to I've got a couple of stories right there that are going to blow your freaking socks off. We've got 535 people live. I want you guys to hear what these are. Oh, I know we've got more super chat donations, and on Sunday, this is your show. And you get to do a super chat donation. That puts powdered eggs, tuna, and Spam in my pantry. And it helps keep this channel going live every day, especially on Sunday. We've got YouTube. We've got thepreparedmind.club. We've got subscribescar.com. Now, YouTube, you can watch for free on Sunday. If you want to participate in the questions, you do a super chat donation. But Monday through Friday, we do live every day. And if you pay $2 a month for the thepreparedmind.club, you can ask questions all week long for free as we go through the week. And this week is going to be messy. I am damn sure of that. All right, so let's get into it. Jolene, who do we have next? We have we have ME, we have me, and it says the Federal Reserve just bailed out Silicon Valley Bank. That is quite interesting that headline just popped up because Janet Yellen of the United States Treasury said they would not be bailing out. Now, folks, the Federal Reserve Bank is not federal. It's no more federal than Federal Express. You see what they have going here, folks, is fear. They're afraid. How are they going to bail out Silicon Valley Bank? Who are they going to bail out? Are they going to bail out the failed corporations? Are they going to make sure their rich buddies who have a lot of money in there, are they the ones that are going to get paid and bailed out? Does the bailout mean that if you have $10,000 there, they're going to give you back all 10,000 of your dollars? Remember when Biden bailed us out and gave us money, gave us checks because of Cerveza bug? A lot of people didn't get those checks. A lot of people just got screwed on the deal. Right? When the government hands out money, there's always strings attached. When these banks hand out money, there's strings attached. Someone may have bought, who knows what's really. Do you think you're going to get the truth? I know we're not going to get the truth. Silicon Valley Bank, they may have gotten bailed out. Let's just say again, Jeff Bezos. He says, oh, you got $10 billion worth of stuff? I'll give you $1 billion. He bailed them out. He bought them up and bailed them out, but that doesn't mean everyone gets all of their money back. I don't know. What are the terms and conditions, right? You sign up for a credit card, it's not like, well, here's a card, go out and spend all the money you want, right? Go ahead and buy what you want and just spend. And we'll talk later about you paying back. No, you sign up to their terms and conditions. And they want their money. They want their pound of flesh. So stand back and stand by. Okay, Jolene, what do we got? Who is next? What is happening next? What is on your mind out there? We have some big things. No one's even talked about them yet. And it is Diorce again with a $10 super chat. And he said, this is why I use a credit union instead of a bank. There's less BS and corruption that would be associated with a bank. It's not foolproof, but it is light years better than using a standard bank. Now, I have a couple of different opinions here. I think that the credit union is the way to go if you're going to keep money in a bank. The credit union I've had since, well, the early 90s. I just continue to use them. And if you want a loan from them, well, they're going to charge you more interest than a standard bank. And they put you through the meat grinder. They want to know how much money you're making. They want to make sure you're employed. They want to know all kinds of shit before they give you any money. They don't just throw money around. Very interesting stuff. Thank you, Diorst. I think that is an interesting opinion and great non-financial advice. Folks, look into credit unions versus banks like Bank of America or Wells Fargo or Silicon Valley Bank. There's so many different ways, folks, to protect your assets. Of course, we all need some money in, a standard, what we all call a bank, so that you can pay your monthly bills, right? But I'm not going to be keeping $10,000 in the bank. Fuck that. If I get 10 grand, it's not going to stay in the bank. That's for sure. Okay. Jolene, who do we have next? And it is Crazy Uncle with a $5 super chat donation. And he says this: without fail, every time I hear about weather, like the California snowstorm, I hear another prepper laughing, saying, "I'm not worried." Yeah, I tell you what, it is kind of funny. The preppers are like, "I'm not worried about that. I'm all set." Well, a proper prepper, someone who has food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and their plan, they don't really worry, because they don't have to run to the store in a snowstorm. They don't have to worry about, well, there's shelter because they've taken good care of it. Being prepared is for all things in life. Well, snow or rain or heat and drought, you've got to be as ready as possible as you can. The whole self-defense thing, yeah, that's government absolutely failing. And government has failed to protect us, just like it did back in 2020, when they didn't have enough sheriff's deputies around the country to put these idiots back in line. And we learned real fast that they don't have the resources to deal with riots everywhere, right? It takes all of their resources to deal with one small crowd. So if there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 crowds of people in a given area causing trouble, you're on your own. And that's what people heard, is you're on your own. Now, to make things worse, fucking morons like Democrats out there saying we need to defund the police. Defund the police. Defund the police. It's funny, over the weekend, idiot Joe Biden, fuck Joe Brandon, that guy, Potato Joe the moron, he came out and said it's Republicans that want to defund the police. It's like, what planet are you from, you idiot? He actually said that Republicans want to defund the police. That's the worst and most radical Democrats that said that. Unbelievable. And in New York City, police are continuing to leave, to retire, and to get out of there. These areas that are run by Democrats, they've had it, folks. The cops have had it. I am no giant. I love cops, and they need to be everywhere writing everyone tickets. I don't think so. They need to be keeping the peace, yes. And when shit goes wonky, they need to be there and fix it. Not just stand there with the shield and have people throw fucking bottles of ice and bricks at them. No, they need to take care of the bad guys. Let us continue with these thoughts, right? The police. What are we going to do with them? Well, we need them, but we don't need their shit. When is the police going to wake up and realize these left-wing lunatics, right, are trying to destroy this country? Well, when I went up to Georgia, I went all the way up and over there, folks. And I went to see the family member. I got quite a little set of opinions from one family member who was law enforcement. And there was zero respect for ATF. Zero respect, folks, for the ATF because of their attitude, because of who they are. I just have a very interesting opinion now of the ATF. based on this report from family firsthand, that they're a bunch of pussies, that they all brag about what ass kickers they are because they have badges and guns. But when it comes down to it, pussies. I found that to be very interesting and very alarming. So keep that in mind, folks. Most of these people with badges and guns, that is the extent of who they are, right? There are patriotic members, folks, in the federal, state, and local law enforcement, lots of them. But there's lots of these cowards with badges and guns also. Look out. Be aware. Be aware. Okay, let's do this. I think, Jolene, and folks, by the way, we're at 1 hour. We're at 560 people live, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm doing it. Are you ready? Are you ready? This is the big enchilada right here. This is our top story. Here's the quote. Quote, "It's as bad as we thought." We have in hand documents that show Biden family was getting money from the Chinese Communist Party. Folks, that wasn't said by me. That wasn't said by some media person. That was said by a Republican in the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. Not only is he a representative, he is on the House Oversight Committee. And not only is he on the House Oversight Committee, but James Comer is the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, who is serving as a representative in Washington, D.C., a representative of the people. And here it is again. It's as bad as we thought, meaning they thought it. Congress thought that Joe was getting money from the Chinese Communist Party. He says it's as bad as we thought. Since we've last spoken, we have bank records in hand. In hand. We have individuals who are working with our committee. They have witnesses that are testifying, folks, to a Republican committee, the House Oversight Committee, about Joe Biden and his family getting money from Chinese Communist Party. He says this: in the last 2 weeks, we've met with either of these individuals personally or with their attorneys. So these whistleblowers that have information, papers in hand, turning them over to Congress. And they have their attorneys talking to the House Oversight Committee about Joe Biden taking money from the Chinese communists. Representative Comer continues, says, and that would be 4 individuals who had ties in with the Biden family in their various schemes around the world. So there's 4 people, and they have attorneys, and they have paperwork that conclusively demonstrates and shows that Biden and his family are involved in schemes, not only with the Chinese, but people around the world. Comer continues. So now we have in-hand documents. We have in-hand documents in hand that show just how the Biden family was getting money from the Chinese Communist Party. Sorry about that. When I was retyping everything, I put in hand a lot. They have documents in hand that show just how the Biden family was getting money. So they know the methodology by which this money was being laundered to them, given to them, provided to them. This is incredible. Now, was he at a bar drinking with his friends? Representative Comer, chairman of the Oversight Committee, right? Who did he give this information to? None other than Maria Bartiromo on Fox News. That's right, folks, Fox News. Not the Prepared Mind channel, nobody. This is fucking huge. It is huge that there are witnesses who have their attorneys who are giving information to Congress, the House Oversight Committee, who says it's as bad as we thought. They're doing business around the world, getting Chinese communist money, and they got their schemes. Folks, the House Oversight Committee chairman does not go on TV with Maria Bartiromo on Fox News and accuse the president of the United States of high crimes and misdemeanor and treason unless this is real. Now, he said 2 weeks they've been doing this. Is this why McCarthy, Speaker of the House McCarthy, has not filed articles of impeachment? Is this why he hasn't? Right? Is Speaker of the House McCarthy, is he that clever to say, let's get some evidence on hand before we do this? Is he that clever? Is McCarthy brave enough to take the information that is now available to Congress, that is being held by the House Oversight Committee, and use that to file articles of impeachment? Is he that brave? Is McCarthy, Speaker of the House, that patriotic that he'll finally do his freaking job and impeach Biden and get him kicked out of office for high crimes and misdemeanors so that he can then be convicted as a traitor in a court of law? Or is this all just a game to get us all riled up and pissed off, to accuse the president of treason on national TV and then just let it all go away? The American public will never hear about it again. It'll just disappear like fart in a whirlwind. I don't think this should, folks. This should be top news. ABC, NBC, CNBC, MSNBC, CNN. They should start up the old news channels that no longer exist, like Headline News Network, HNN, just so they can stream this out there. It needs to be on national news, it needs to be on local news, it needs to be on the radio, it needs to be on television, it needs to be in Europe, Russia, China, everywhere. Everyone needs to know that this is coming out. Who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline? Who are we hearing being accused? Biden. Who is tied to the Chinese Communist Party? Biden. Who was tied to Burisma and all the corruption there in Ukraine over their energy? Biden and the Biden cartel. I pray, folks, that they actually do something. Could this right here be the reason why Silicon Valley Bank is taking a shit? Because confidence in the system is lost. Their big dog idiot Biden is now being exposed. Is that what's going on here? I want to know what you think about this. I know we've got some super chat donations. There's more coming. You guys have more questions and thoughts, but I want you to think about this. Is this why? Because Biden and his allies, his Ukrainian supporter gang, are they concerned about Ukraine and getting outed? And so they're going to start causing banks to collapse. They're going to let them collapse and fail. They're going to bring down the entire system to cover for themselves because, well, the Oversight Committee has them by the short hairs also. Are they really going to do it? Are they going to do what needs to be done? We need to they need to cut the cancer out, folks. Do they have the balls? Are they patriotic enough? Folks, that's the big enchilada right there. Where the hell is the Attorney General? Oh, yeah, he's in the pocket of Biden and Biden is in his pocket. The Attorney General, where's the FBI on this? Why isn't the FBI demanding to go arrest them and start seizing documents? Oh, yeah, documents. Biden has had how many boxes of documents? At schools, at his house, in his garage next to his Corvette, in his think tank, right? His political action committee office. How many boxes and boxes of secret documents, unlawfully kept, illegally kept, national security threat kept? Is this part of it? The Chinese Communist Party money? Did he take all of those documents and start hiding them when he was back with Obama and during the Trump administration? Now he's in the White House again. Are the powers that be in the World Economic Forum, are they now done with Biden? And so they're going to get rid of him. Are they using this as the excuse to out and get rid of the Bidens? Just hang him out to dry, right? Is Biden going to fall down a set of stairs now again for the fourth time? Is he going to die of a heart attack, right? Is he going to have a Jim Jones Juice episode? Is he going to slip on a banana peel, crash on his tractor or his tricycle? Is that what's going to happen? Could it happen, folks? Are they just going to get rid of this old fruitcake? And that won't solve any problems. This left-wing ESG, LGBT crowd with their critical race theory and their anti-American communist bullshit, they're not going to go away. We do need to fight them, yes. We do need to give them what for, yes. But they're not going to go away. We need to prep to action and keep going and go all the way to DC with this and scream and yell our heads off that we want our rights preserved, our nation restored, and these criminals thrown in jail. And we'll give them trials, you bet. Get out the military tribunals because we have treason on the radar, folks. It's not on the horizon. It's right in front of us now. Right in front of us. Whew. Okay, Jolene, let's see what everyone wants to say. What else do we have out there? Okay, thank you very much for that. And we have Luke Thompson with a $10 super chat donation. Thank you, Mr. Luke. And here's what he has to say. He says, what would you do under this scenario? A nuclear bomb goes off anywhere on the planet that is not a test. What would you do? If a nuke was set off that wasn't a test, it could go off in Japan. It could go off in Ukraine or Russia. A nuclear bomb could go off in Europe or Africa or South America. Anywhere on the planet. And my reaction is the same. What is my reaction? To stage all of my gear. To stage all of my combat gear. To get out all of the rifles and make sure everything is fully functional and clean, as if it's not already. And I would get out the potassium iodide tablets. I would make sure they are at hand. Because if nukes start going off, folks, that's how you end up getting sick, right? Just the radioactive cesium that's emitted in a nuclear explosion, right? But you up it, you know that more is coming. If one goes off, more is coming. As surely as one failed bank like Silicon Valley Bank goes off and fails, there's going to be more to follow. Right now, again, the biggest threat in my world, well, nuclear war, that's a pretty big threat. That's a pretty big threat. But aside from that, folks, people are the biggest threat in my life. The way they think, the way they behave, and the actions they take. You see, I have a plan just like you have a plan. I have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. I have my plan. Those people out there, those people in your world, that 10-mile radius around your world, they know jack shit. All they know is if things go bad, they're going to go to your house, or they're going to go to someone else's house, and they're going to steal someone else's food. They're going to go ask the government for food. They're going to start snitching on their neighbors. They're going to lose their shit. That's what you can expect from the average human being, is they'll lose their shit. You can be out on the street and you can be a porcupine bristling with guns, and you'll end up having to use them. Or you can hide in your house and be gray, invisible, not even there, and avoid these people. But you're still going to have to defend yourself. We all at some point are going to have to defend ourselves against these lunatics and madmen out here. Great question, great topic, great comment. Thank you again for your great support. Okay, Jolene, what do we have now? What's up now is Crazy Uncle back with another $5 super chat donation. And he says, if the bank run cascades, meaning dominoes, cascades, keeps going. If the bank run cascades, how long until the government says again, quote, you have a certain amount of time to turn in your metals or else? Well, I tell you what, Crazy Uncle, if the government says turn in your metals, I don't know for what purpose. When we say metals, of course, we're talking about gold or silver. So let's just say the government says you have to turn in your gold. There's not much gold out here relative to the way it was back in the 1930s. People actually use gold literally as money. Gold coins from the government have on it stamped a dollar value. Whether it's $20 or $50, it's stamped and it's real money. Back then, people had gold and people had silver. We had silver coinage in this country, folks, Well, it's still available in circulation, but they quit minting it, back in the mid 60s. But yeah, money used to be silver and gold, literally. And paper was just a substitute that you could carry folded in your wallet. You could go redeem a $20 bill for a $20 gold piece back in the 1920s, back in the 1930s. Pardon me, sir. It's a sneeze. Now, here's the deal. Yeah, back then there was a lot more gold out here. And the government said, turn in your money. You have to turn in your money. It is now illegal to own gold. Well, guess what? Only a small percentage of people actually did that back then. The government did not go door to door demanding people's gold, or they'd shoot them. Now, if they tried that today, one, how do they know who has the gold? There's far less people out here, and they certainly don't have a whole lot of gold laying around. They've got a lot of debt. They bought a house. They bought a car. They have credit cards for stuff. They have debt. People now own debt. They don't own a lot of gold. So it would be a lot of work for the government to go out there and find the gold, and a lot of risk too, because people who have gold and silver also have the other precious metals known as copper, brass, and lead. Look out if that were to happen. It is a concern. It is a topic. If the government decides to make gold illegal, well, what purpose does that serve for them other than trying to scare people into not keeping it? But banks right now, folks, private banks are buying gold. Central banks, government banks are buying gold, not by the coin, by the ton, literal ton, folks. They're buying it by the hundreds of tons. And then, folks, wealthy people, they're the ones that the government knows is buying, $100,000 in gold. How about $1 million in gold? How about $50 million in gold? That's what they're doing, folks. They're buying $50 million. That's just a ton of gold. How about people that can afford $500 million in gold or $1 billion in gold? There's people out there that rich, folks, and they're doing it. They're buying up all the gold they can off the market. The COMEX exchange, the LBMA, London Bullion Market, right, they're completely running out of gold. They're not out, but it's slowly getting knocked down. And same with silver. Silver reserves, they've been in deficits for years producing silver. They produce, 800 million ounces? But they consume and sell like $1.5 billion in ounces. I'm sorry, 1.5 billion ounces. They're consuming and buying a lot more than is being mined, which means those who have it that are selling, well, they're going to run out. Once they're out, they're out. They can't buy anymore. That is something that's real. Once again, gold and silver is real. The government doesn't want you to have anything of real value, including food, including weapons, right? They don't even want you to have the truth as an asset. That's why they're trying to silence you and silence me with their fucking censorship bullshit. Okay, Jolene, who do we have next that wants to step up? It is none other than, yes, Truth Faction with a $5 super chat donation. He says, I am paying all of my bills today, draining my account. Now, that's very good, Truth Faction. I am not a financial advisor, and I'm not advising anyone on what to do with their financing or investing needs. We all need to make our own decisions. Now, I'll tell you what. When I saw what happened with Silicon Valley Bank, I transferred money and paid off a bunch of crap as well. And it needed to be paid off anyways. But I was like, I'm going to keep $1,000 right there. And yeah, well, I got rid of it. I paid that shit down because there's no reason to have it. Now, what happens, folks? This is a question that came to me. What happens if I've got $10,000 in debt to Bank A, and Bank A has $5,000 of my money, and Bank A says, hey, we're going to confiscate your $5,000. I'm going to say, well, great. you're now out of business. You confiscated my money, and you can take your debt and shove it up your ass, right? You took 5, but you had 10,000 in debt, so you're the loser, right? Do I owe someone $10,000 still? Now here's the trick: some courtroom may say yes. Some courtroom may say you owe the person who bought all that debt that 10 grand. And I'm going to say, well, what about my 5 grand that they stole of mine? They're going to say, well, that was an unsecured loan of yours. See the problems we have here? They're going to make you pay and hold you accountable. But this bank can file for bankruptcy. They can just get out of their obligations. They can steal your money and not pay their bills, but they'll come back after us. That's how it works, folks. Every single time. That's how this game works. They continue to show us exactly how they are. Every time. Every stinking time. I tell you. Okay. I wanted to get to this. This was important. Fucking Jane Fonda, not Jane Fonda. The Pfizer files, they're going to bring something to you. Get this, a 21-year-old mixed martial artist fighter. That's right, folks, one of these professional athletes that knows how to take a licking and keep on ticking. Had a cardiac arrest during his fight. 21-year-old, folks. Now, to be one of these fighters, you have to be in great shape. Take a wild guess, right? Take a wild guess from the Pfizer files. But that's not the end of it, folks. We've got another one. A 17-year-old girl had a heart attack at a cheer competition. It's a cheerleader, a 17-year-old cheerleader. Probably a cute little skinny girl in great shape, used to running around and cheering her little head off. Doctors are baffled. Well, I'm not baffled in the least. I mean, take a wild guess. I wanted to let you know that these things are still happening out here, folks. They're still happening. People are having heart attacks. They're having strokes. They're becoming crippled, injured, dead. It's still going on. It's still going on. Don't think for a second, folks, that they're done. Don't think for a second. Now, I talked about Representative Comer going after Biden and saying, hey, we got the evidence. We also have Representative Paul Gozer, who is calling for hearings on the January 6th footage. That's right, all the footage that was taken on January 6th. Well, Tucker Carlson's been releasing it piecemeal to the public, saying, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. Unfortunately, I am sitting here going, I've seen this footage. I've seen these pieces. I've heard the evidence. I've heard the reports. I've heard the testimony. Well, it's now becoming public. Gozer is calling for hearings, and he says, quote, stay tuned for the investigation that's coming. And folks, I don't want investigation. I want prosecution. Right? He's talking about Pelosi. That's right, Nancy Pelosi, 90 proof Nancy. Nancy Pants. How about Cheney? That's right. That's right. Ms. Piggy Cheney. How about General Millie Vanilli for his participation? How about Mr. Mayorkas for his participation? Right. This is all on top of Biden being known as a Chinese agent. We now have all of this other information coming out about needing to go after these Democrats in Washington. The footage is the footage of January 6th, folks, should not hide the fact that Biden is being exposed as being a Chinese agent and taking Chinese money and being engaged in money schemes, money laundering schemes around the world. We've known about the big guy from the computer files. We've known about their illegality, Hunter weighing his drugs and snorting coke off of hookers' asses and his underage fetish crap. We know about that. We know about Biden and his hair-sniffing gropingness. We know about these people. They need to be not just investigated, but prosecuted. And it should be coming. I want you to prep to action, get prepared. So if something bad happens, whether it's a nuke, an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse weapon, a food shortage, a gas shortage, anything goes wrong, you need to be prepared. But we need to take action and tell people, our representatives in Washington, enough talk. We know all about this stuff. Enough talk. We've seen enough video of January 6th. We know that these people didn't do anything wrong. There were some people there engaged in violence, but they were agents provocateur. They were Antifa. They were Federal Bureau of Investigation officers. Unbelievable what is happening. We're at the 90-minute mark, folks. 90 minutes. We've been here an hour and a half, and we've had over 550 people, as high as 570. I really wish we hit 600. That'd be great. But I'm very pleased with how we're doing live. It's way more than the president gets. And all he has to do is talk for 5 minutes. No one cares what he has to say because he's full of shit. I think he is going to be the sacrificial animal for these people. They're just going to let him go. He's going to be the fall guy. A few people will go to jail, maybe. But we'll see. We will see. Yeah, and Pelosi and Liz Cheney and General Milli Vanilli, right? And Secretary Mayorkas, they all need to be held accountable for their participation in a coup d'etat against America. And folks, same with Vice President Pence, who has now demonstrated through his testimony that he was threatened. And in order to protect his family, we know what he did. I'm not afraid to say he's a POS. All right. Jolene, where are we at? Where are we at out there? All right. We have another super chat donation, $10 super chat donation. And I want to thank you, Orlando, who checks in. He says, police will wake up when they realize that the end game doesn't really include them. And they're in the same boat as we are. Per Biden. Can you imagine what would happen if Biden was in his right mind? Yeah, thank you very much, Orlando, for the great donation and for helping us throughout the week. Yeah, folks, these policemen, they're not part of the winning team, but they've always been there. In every tyrannical regime, there have been police, there have been soldiers who have been willing to commit acts of atrocity against their fellow men, against their fellow countrymen. Whether we're talking about communists in the Soviet Union or communists in China, whether we're talking about Nazis, thank you, Jolene, Nazis in Germany, or any cops anywhere around the planet. There's someone always willing to take a paycheck to screw over their neighbor, and so they can feel powerful with that badge and that gun. Well, this is America, and it's quite a different place. We all have our guns. In fact, we outnumber the police, both in people and in guns and in ammunition and in a desire for freedom. I really wish more police loved the Constitution and stood up for it. Now, I can tell you my family member does and is a great patriot. And a lot of these guys out there are patriots, but you're not going to hear from them. Know why? They're silent. And I've had a lot of them contact me over the years. Different law enforcement going, man, why are you painting us all bad? Well, because the news shows us that you guys all look bad, because that's all we see. Now, I can go on the internet and I can find stories, feel-good stories about cops that do great things for the homeless or for children, or solve a mystery, or arrest a bad guy, or let someone go who was having a bad day and cuss them out and they didn't shoot them or anything. And I can find those videos. I know it. But I know of a lot of people in my life who personally have been endangered, abused, and damaged psychologically and financially by cops. It's a bad system, folks, when they start going bad. So we need to let them know we have expectations of them as well. And I've done that many times in my life. It's like, what is going on here? You serve us. You serve us. Now, let's do this. Let us continue to move on, march forward, because we've got your donations, your super chat donations. And you can do down below, there's Venmo, there's PayPal, and there's Cash App, and then you can hit up here. Right? You can do a tip there, you can do super chat donation, and tell me what's on your mind. What questions do you want answered? What news story do you think matters the most? What haven't we covered here that needs to be covered so that everyone can be prepared? You can have a prediction, you can have a statement, you can have a thought, or you can just ask a question. Jolene, what do we got? Who is up next? Who do we have? There we go. And it is NPNY 1970 with a $4.99 super chat donation. He says, unfortunately, nothing ever happens to these pigs. Every time they get caught, they laugh. What he's talking about, NPNT is talking about, is Biden, Pelosi, Hillary, Obama, the Clintons, right? Eric Comer, Eric Holder, Ruby Rod Rosenstein. Yeah, I hear you, man. I absolutely hear you. These people seem to get caught, and they get caught red-handed. To use a pejorative term that people don't really realize is pejorative. They get caught, and they don't go to jail. In fact, the head of the FBI said, oh, yeah, Hillary committed a crime, but we're not going to prosecute. Look at all the people in the Trump administration who were prosecuted, folks. His attorneys, General Flynn, is it Paul Manafort, Steve Bannon? They go after Republicans. Why don't they go after Democrats? Why do they lock up Republicans and try sending them to jail and ruining their lives, but not Democrats? There is such thing as a uniparty, meaning there are rhino Republicans, and a lot of them. I'm not going to try and hide that. There's a lot of them, and they're teamed up with the Democrats, and all they give a fuck about is lining their own pockets and screwing over America, selling us out. Selling us out. But there are good Republicans, and they need to be supported, and they also need to be instructed by us. Stand up for the Constitution. Uphold your oath, right? And convict and prosecute those who violate their oaths. Now, Congress can refer criminal behavior over to the Attorney General's office at the Department of Justice. They can say, we've got evidence of a crime. Now, if they present that evidence to him and he does nothing with it, they can sue him in court. The United States Congress or individual congressman can sue the Attorney General in federal court, and they can ask for judgment on a writ of mandamus, which mandates that he obey the law and that he prosecute the crime. You see what I'm saying? They can hold a hearing over the evidence against Joe Biden and say, yes, this evidence is real, and then they can prosecute him. But folks, this is what needs to happen. Congress needs to impeach Joe Biden right now. They need to impeach him right now. No more fucking games, right? No more games. We know what's going on. Now, this is incredible, right? McCarthy is out there, and did he talk about Silicon Valley? Did he talk about their bank? Did he talk about big tech's private little piggy bank that got blown up? No. Did he talk about Biden and the crap he's doing? No. This weekend he was talking about a bill that they're putting forward in Congress to ban biological males from competing in women's sports. Now, that's kind of the obvious thing. There shouldn't need to be a law that stops boys from competing as girls and hurting women physically, psychologically, and also taking from them, that's right, taking from them their scholarships. You see, girls get sports scholarships too. Women get sports scholarships. Well, if men are competing in women's sports and they get those scholarships, women are being screwed out of educational opportunity. Yeah, so there is a little more to this than just who gets the trophy at the end of the day. So yeah, that's kind of an obvious thing. And I'm glad that they're going to pass that law. And I hope that it goes through the Senate. And I hope that Joe Biden was, but he's not, because Joe Biden's a fruitcake. But impeaching Biden is probably even more obvious. Where is McCarthy. And I asked the question earlier, hey, look, we've got all this evidence now that they say is in hand. The evidence that is in hand. The big enchilada for tonight, as far as I'm concerned with the public. I know that the Silicon Valley Bank is a big deal. I know that's a big ass deal. But Representative James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, says we have individuals who are working with the committee, right? Met with them and their attorneys. They have papers in hand, documentation. And so I asked the question, is that why McCarthy hasn't filed articles of impeachment? Well, now the cat's out of the bag. It was not on some chicken shit news channel. It was not on NPR. It was on Fox News with Maria Bartiromo. Everyone now knows about this and that it is real. Start the impeachment. Because you know for a fact that Garlic Merrick Screwball, Attorney General, is not going to do anything. The FBI is not going to do anything about this. They'll go after Trump. They'll arrest General Flynn. They'll frame Roger Stone. But they're not going to do a fucking thing about Hunter Biden, who I think is now hiding in the White House. Quite literally. Last I heard, that's where he is. Right? McCarthy, you're the Speaker of the House. You're the number 3 man. Why aren't you braver? Why aren't you more of a patriot? Shouldn't he be the most patriotic? Now, it's my understanding that McCarthy was told that these committees are going to be formed and that they are going to pursue the data, that they are going to get the info, that they are going to link everything together, and they're going to go after the Bidens. I believe that's part of the claim, is that McCarthy agreed to all that as long as he was voted in as the Speaker. Is he that smart, or is he that dumb? Is he that patriotic? Or is this all a game? This is all a game to keep us thinking something's going to happen, but nothing at all comes of it. Makes me wonder. I tell you, Jolene, makes me wonder. I tell you who, man, makes me wonder. What are the numbers? What are the numbers out there of people who believe that Biden is a traitor? Half the country? Thank you. 0 people believe that, yeah. No, I would say it's probably better than half. Even if they don't want anything done about it, I know there's a lot of Democrats out there that know that Biden is a traitor. And they're probably applauding him, that he's doing a great job of screwing us all over. Right? Those are the same people that have Biden stickers on their cars. They're very proud of the fact that, fuel is doubled. Unbelievable. And speaking of, Americans getting screwed over, guess what? Yeah, over the weekend in Lancaster City, Pennsylvania, right? They had another toxic spill, more toxic waste to enjoy. Anhydrous ammonia. Ammonia stinks. Toxic crap. That's right. Another hazardous incident. Surprise, America. More toxic waste for you to enjoy. They got a shelter-in-place order. Do you have, for nuclear war, do you have potassium iodide tablets that you can get on Amazon? Do you have a gas mask for nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons? Do you have an NBC gas mask? Right? Do you have gold and silver to protect yourself from a bank crisis? An absolute failure in the bank industry, the financial industry, the monetary industry. The economy is absolutely screwed. But they're going to tell you everything is fine until they tell you things are bad. They said they had the entire problem fixed back in 2008. Bernanke said they got it fixed, right? The crisis was contained. That was his word, contained. The subprime crisis was contained. And then what happens? Within days, they go, well, yeah, we had a bigger problem. Right? Hank Paulson shows up in Congress, says they need TARP money, $1 trillion in money to hand out to the banks to save everything. Oh, yeah. That's exactly how they roll. Meanwhile, they give you a toxic soup to breathe. Well, you need to be prepared, folks. The government's not going to hand you a gas mask. The government is not going to hand out potassium iodide tablets. I don't care how many millions or billions of these tablets they've stockpiled. They'll stockpile them for themselves, but not for you. They've got food for themselves, but not for you. They've got money for themselves, but not for you. If you want to be covered, you have got to prepare for yourself. All right, let's do a super chat donation. Jolene, what do we got going? Well, we have Flowing Brook has become a member and says, are we going after Khazarian mafia over Ukraine? Folks, the Khazarian mafia. The Khazarian mafia are people who pretend to be, they practice Jewish religion, and this is all over the internet, by the way. But they're mafia. Folks, there is an Italian mafia, there is a Jewish mafia, there is a Chinese mafia. There is lots of Japanese mafia. In fact, in Japan, mafia is a legitimate business. Mafia is real. Crime cartels are real. Just ask the Mexicans. Just ask the Venezuelans. Ask the Colombians if organized crime is real. Whether they're really organized or whether they're just partially organized. Whether they run drugs or whether they run, shall we say, currency. Right? If you've ever gone to get what's known as, quote, hard money, go to a loan shark, you're going to be dealing with something very close to the freaking mafia. Right? These people that loan hard money, they're criminals as far as I'm concerned. And I know a lot of people get saved by them, but it's a hard way to do business. Unbelievable, folks, that this world has so much criminality in it. Now, as far as the Khazars go, and your question, are we going after Ukraine because of that? There's a lot of problems, folks, between Israel and Russia and Ukraine and Europe. There's a lot of problems between America, the World Economic Forum, England, and Russia. And China is also involved in this, and so is India. And there's a lot of heads that are rolling right now. People are very upset, pissed off. Very upset and pissed off. Blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline was not an insignificant world event. And I hope that history remembers that it was done when they actually convict and make public what happened there and who benefited. That's right, key bono, who benefited. It's very important. Without knowing who benefited, what's the point of knowing it all? Right? Who blew it up? Who paid them off? How did they get that information? How did they get the explosives? The information. Where is the pipeline? How do we get stuff down there? There was not a couple of hillbillies out there with a stick or two of dynamite, folks. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. Fucking Joe Biden is a complete moron. Wow, just unbelievable. Let's take a wild guess again. How about this, folks? How about a professional sports team, their athletic trainer died suddenly at the team's hotel? Folks, it has never stopped. Just thought I would share that one with you, right? Another Pfizer moment. There you go. Now, over the weekend, what else is going on around the world? If you've got questions and comments, you let me know what you think is going around the world. I wish we had Remy in the house because he kept us informed about the Netherlands, right? Well, the Dutch government is now sending military trucks, paramilitary, folks, because farmers are planning a demonstration. We can't have that. We can't have that. The solution, folks, to the problems we have is to stop making food. Did you know that? In order to fix problems, you stop growing food. That'll fix a problem the sun has always been responsible for. What am I talking about? Climate change, extreme climate, right? They keep saying that it's our fault. So the way you fix that is to stop making food so that people then get hungry and riot, right? But I want you to do this. I want you to think. This is part of the Prepared Mind channel, thinking. I want you to ask, find any climatologist. Find them on the internet. Call them on the phone. Find any climatologist and ask who or what created the ice age where the world freezes over 50%. 50% of the planet gets covered in ice for 10,000, 20,000 years. What created that? And then when the climatologist goes through a bunch of rigmarole to explain that, say it wasn't humans that did that, because there were no humans 30,000, 100,000, 200,000 years ago during other ice ages. There were no humans in civilization causing greenhouse gases. So they'll give you a bunch of bullshit and malarkey. And then ask the same climatologist, what made this frozen planet, this ice ball, suddenly warm up and thaw out if half the planet's covered in ice and plants aren't growing and emitting carbon dioxide, and there's no human industry while the planet's frozen over? What caused the planet to suddenly warm up and thaw out? And then ask this same dumb son of a bitch why he likes Greta Van Thunberg so much, right? The little witch that couldn't, right? The little Grinch climatologist, the climate brat, Gretchen the Grinch, right? Anyways, this guy, ask the same guy what the mean temperature differential is between the hottest periods in global history with the coolest. And for comparison, where are we today with today's temperatures in comparison to those two extremes, the hottest and the coldest? And ask them, with our temperature today, in comparison to those highs and lows, right? Why didn't the Earth get destroyed by the hotter temperatures and the colder ones? Why wasn't all life extinguished by these ice ages and these warm periods, right? They won't be able to answer you those questions. See, when you ask real questions, it silences them, or they just call you names, or they ignore you. They're complete lunatics, folks, right? We're closing farms with tanks and guns. Folks, the World Economic Forum wants control of every individual. You're going to eat the bugs. You will own nothing and you'll be happy about it, they say. While they play their money-grubbing games in Ukraine, while you have Khazar bankers, you have aristocratic families fighting for control with each other and over all of the spoils of war that they're committing, while they risk war with China and Russia and nuclear war. Why would they do all that unless they really had something big to gain? Oh yeah, folks, it's a mess. These are the questions I ask and the questions I bring to you. Right? Why do they have to play this climate game? Why don't they just say, fuck you, we're going to screw you guys over, instead of lying to us and trying to come up with an excuse that we'll believe? Why did they play this game with the bullshit pandemic and pretend like we're all going to die from the common cold? Why don't they just come out and say, fuck you, we own you? Well, they tried it. They tried using, right, the Jim Jones juice and the pandemic to convince you to take their disgusting, fucked up drugs. So they know no one really buys their shit. So they have to try and get us to believe that it's real. There shouldn't be a problem with the banking system. There shouldn't. It should not be a problem, yet here we are. Why? Because the government overtaxes us and steals our money, and the banks overcharge us and steal our money. And then they squander it, stealing from each other. And then they say, well, that bank is out of business. So yeah, screw America. We're going to take your money. Don't worry. You'll get to pay it back in the form of taxes while the rich get richer. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, folks. I got another one for you. If you got a super chat donation and you got a question, get it in, because we're going to wrap this sucker up right now. I've got a long drive through the middle of the night to get my ass home and back to my job and my life. You got something to say, I want to hear it. So get it in there. In Minnesota, a father is charged with second-degree murder because he allegedly killed a convicted pedophile, folks. That's someone who is a pedophile, who had been convicted already. This father, right, said his daughter was being stalked by this pedophile. So he killed the guy with moose horns. He took horns, right, and killed a freaking pedophile. Is the guy bad or is he good? Is the father right or wrong? Is it murder or is it self-defense and saving his daughter from being murdered or raped or both by this fruitcake? Folks, I've had a family member who was kidnapped by a bunch of stalking scumbags, and she was able to jump out of a moving van to get away from them. It is self-defense, folks, in my opinion. And a simple investigation of this should conclude the matter, in my opinion. There doesn't need to be a murder trial to discuss whether or not it's murder. When you kill a bad person who's trying to destroy a life, that's self-defense. All of these kids out here across America, folks, from sea to shining sea, every kid who's being told they need to cut off their genitals, or they need to go dance on a pole, or become drag queens, they need to hate themselves, they need to take drugs that stops their development as human beings. That's what these people want. They are sick people, folks, very sick in charge. By sick, I mean perverted, unholy, ungodly, criminal, and abominations. Not to mention Obama nation and abominable. That's what these people are. Do you think that's any coincidence that his name is Obama? I don't know. But what I do know, folks, is that we need to defend our country against these people, these very, very sick, evil, perverted people that want to destroy America. They do. They want to destroy America. Do you have any doubt? They're screwing up our money and our banking. They're screwing up our economy and our jobs. They're caught, folks. They're absolutely caught. James Comer, it's as bad as we thought. Well, they thought it. That's crazy. Representative Paul Gozer over the January 6th footage. Right? You've got Tucker Carlson, who says Ray Epps was working for somebody. Ray Epps should have been arrested. Ray Epps should have been charged. Ray Epps was committing acts of violence. Ray Epps was trying to encourage people to commit acts of violence. The Biden government is doing jack shit. Today, a huge group of military age, young men, have stormed the port of entry in El Paso. Did you know that? That's an invasion, folks. That's nearly a military invasion. This wasn't children and grandmas trying to get into the U.S. This is young men just pouring across the border by charging. It's kind of like, when people flash mob a store and strip the shelves. Yeah, here it is, the FDIC to make good all deposits at Silicon Valley Bank. Folks, they're taking your money from your bank and they're putting it towards Silicon Valley. That's what their decision is. That's what I see there. Right? That bank doesn't have enough insurance, but the FDIC is going to make sure everything's covered to calm everyone down. Unbelievable what's going on and how they're doing it. Right? Unbelievable. Oh, here we go. Costa Titch, a 28-year-old rapper, collapsed on stage at a music festival. There you go. Oh, here we are. Look at this. A Swedish retirement pension used Silicon Valley Bank. And that was the fourth largest shareholder with $280 million. Whoops-a-daisy. How do we like that shit now, right? How do we like that now? Well, don't worry, folks. It's not going to get any better. Not overnight. Expect trouble. They're trying to calm the public by throwing some money at Silicon Valley Bank. That's what they're doing. They're trying to keep you confused and scared and worried and thinking, well, you can't touch Biden. He needs to be touched, folks. He really needs to be touched pretty hard. But most of all, I think it's important that you and I be prepared. There's going to come a point where they can't cover a bank and they can't get food to the store because they've shut down too many farms, and they can't stop the violence because people have poured over the border. Right? It's not fear mongering. It's saying, get ready, get prepared. Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. I'm going to check on out of here, folks. I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to head on home. Right? That's what's happening here. Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Godspeed, Semper Fi. God bless America. And thank you for coming to the zoo to talk about everything that's going on. And we'll be back bright and early. I sure hope bright and early with Zero Dark 30. It'll be great. Zero Dark 30. I'll see you then.